All right, hello everybody. Good to see you, Ron from Ron's Personal Fitness again today to give you some tips. Before we do that, if you would please go ahead and share this video so that someone that you know can get the information that they're looking for. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about nutrition, and we're going to give you some specific tips, not specific foods to eat today, but specific ways to make sure that your calorie count is right. So go ahead and share this and get this information out there to those that will enjoy it and need to hear it. And if you're watching this on the replay later on YouTube, please go ahead and take the time now to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll know the next time that we post one of these. We're trying to do them once a week. Might do them on Tuesdays for a while, and then we'll see what other days of the week I can get them pushed into as my schedule goes back to normal and people come off of vacation. All right, so today we're talking about nutrition. And the first thing that we need to understand is that, as simply as we can put it, your calories in cannot exceed your calories out. That's all we're going to say about that today. Excuse me, is that you have to expend more calories than you consume so that you will start to lose weight. Now let's say how much that is, and then you'll see how much work you have in front of you. Each pound of fat is 3,500 calories. 3,500 calories. Exactly. So I either have to increase my expenditure per week of 3,500 calories or take in 3,500 less total calories throughout the week in order to achieve a single pound of weight loss, of fat loss primarily. Remember, we don't care about how much we weigh, we care about our fat percentage. So we would like to see as much of the fat, or as much of the weight, I should say, coming from fat as from anywhere else. Okay? So 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. And by the way, you'll hear me say this again, but a calorie is the amount of energy needed to raise 1 cubic centimeter of water 1 degree Celsius. So it is energy imparted on that water to raise its temperature. So in some food labels, instead of calories, you'll see the word energy. And it's in kilojoules of energy or kilocalories. And those are, again, units of heat. A calorie is a unit of heat. All right, so if you see kcal or the word energy, it is the same as calories. All right, now, counting one's calories is, I don't want to say it's not as easy as it sounds, but bear with me here for a second. If I say that you need to consume 1,200 calories based on what I know about you and your energy expenditure and, you know, how much body fat that you have at this time and things like that, and I say, okay, client A, you need to eat 1,200 calories a day, and at the end of the week, I want to see where we are. And you start writing down every little thing that you ate, which you should, tracking your fitness, tracking your calories, okay? We talked about that last time. And at the end of the week, you end up gaining a pound. And I'm like, well, you know, math doesn't lie, physics doesn't lie, the thermodynamics that we're working on, it doesn't lie. So either you were even more sedentary this week and you burned 3,500 less calories than normal, or you actually ate 3,500 more calories than you thought you did by the end of the week. And that is very, very possible to do. A lot of people will say, well, I know what 8 ounces of XYZ looks like, or I know what 5 ounces of red meat looks like. Well, maybe. But unless you've been doing this for a very long time, and even those of us who have been doing it for a very long time, when we want to get our specific fat loss goals achieved, the first thing you'll notice is we get out our food scale. And that's what we're talking about today, is weighing our food. The food scale will break your amount of food, whatever it is that you put on that scale, down into grams. Okay? So ounces are fine, but for the most part, we want to see how many grams of something we're consuming. A lot of the nutritional labels will be broken down into grams. So you'll see that usually in parentheses next to whatever a serving size is and the ounces of a serving size. But you'll see, 19 grams, for example. Well, how much is that? We're not a metric-based society for the most part, although you'd be surprised how many things you do deal with on a daily basis in the metric system. But food weighing usually isn't one of them. So the first thing that you want to do is get your scale and put your vessel, your plate or your bowl or whatever it is that you're going to put the food into, and zero out your scale. Then as you start to add food to the scale, you can see exactly how many grams of each component of that meal that you're putting in. And utilizing calculators online, calorie calculators, there's little pocket books that you can buy at the grocery store that an apple has 100 calories. Well, that's based off of a certain amount of grams. Okay, you've heard the old adage, apples to apples or apples to oranges. Well, if I had 2 apples, one in each hand, and in my diet, in order to consume a certain amount of calories, I need, let's use our 100-gram apple, okay? But one apple weighs 95 grams, and the other apple weighs 125 grams. And they're not that much different in size. All right? Or I chop up my apple, right? I'm not going to eat the core, and I'm not going to poison myself with apple seeds, and I'm not going to eat the stem. So that part of the apple isn't even consumed. So in order for me to figure out how much I have consumed, I need to cut my apple up and weigh the parts that I'm going to eat until I get to my 100 grams or whatever my arbitrary number is for this example. Okay? Everybody's going to be different, so whatever your food needs are going to be, that's what you have to weigh out. A serving size, or what people perceive as a serving size, I pretty much could guarantee the house and bet the house that you are going to underestimate exactly how many calories are on that plate in front of you. Okay? You're going to say, okay, I need a serving size of nuts, almonds, for example. Okay? And you pour them out in your hand and you're like, yeah, that looks about right. But then you read on your paper that for your caloric needs and your beneficial fat that we're trying to achieve from the nuts is 19 grams of nuts. Okay, well, what's 19 grams of nuts? Well, you zero out your food scale and you start adding nuts until you get to 19 grams. And after about 7 nuts or 8 nuts, you've achieved your goal. Wait a minute, I had about 30 in my hand a minute ago, or 2.5 times what I was supposed to have. Or 1.5 times what I was supposed to have. Okay, so I have exceeded my calories by guesstimating by 50% over and above what I should have had. I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't trying to cheat. I just went, oh yeah, there's a serving of nuts. Okay, add that to my little lunchbox. Okay? So most people have no idea what 80 grams of potato looks like. And for foods like potatoes, for example, you want to weigh those before you cook them. Things like rice, you want to weigh it after it's absorbed the water in the steamer, or boiling it, or however you cook your rice. But things like potato could be cooked. You could be air frying it. You could be boiling them. You could, baking them. Excuse me. You can have a variety of end results with your potato because of water content in the potato. You could air fry or bake out a lot of the water, and now you have a lighter potato. So if I said 80 grams of potato and you weigh cooked potato, you're getting more starch and carbs than you would have if you'd weighed the raw potato and cooked 80 grams. I hope that made sense to everybody. So for potatoes, cook or weigh them before you cook them. Rice and foods that absorb water during cooking, you'll weigh them after you cook them. Meats are generally weighed before cooking as well, protein sources. So depending on your needs, if you're a bodybuilder and you need 150 grams of protein, by the end of the day, you're probably weighing your cooked chicken or your cooked fish. That's okay. But if you're really, 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 really cutting for a bodybuilding show and you're trying to strip off all the body fat, you may be weighing your food ahead of time so that you know exactly how much of that you've consumed. All right. So the best advice that I can give you is to become very, very familiar with utilizing your food scale. And that way, no matter what diet you follow, with keto diet, South Beach diet, the Mayo Clinic diet, which by the way has nothing to do with the Mayo Clinic. If you're going to be on a keto style diet or an Atkins style diet, you still, even if it's carb free, you still cannot consume more calories than you burn and expect to lose weight. You have to take in less. So going online to a energy expenditure, the TDEE, the Total Daily Energy Expenditure Calculator, is a good one online. Okay, just look that up. Google TDEE. And underestimate your energy expenditure. Click that sedentary box. Even if you exercise every day, click that sedentary box. Put in the proper amount of sleep that you get. And it'll spit back and it'll ask you your age and male, female, and your current weight and things like that. And it will spit back a calorie needed to keep you alive, your basal metabolic rate. We really don't want to go under that unless we're influenced by medication or some metabolic disease that keeps us from burning enough calories. So right there you can look at how many calories you need to live, to continue to divide cells, to continue to keep respiration going and energy, the mitochondria stimulated within the cells for energy. Okay? Give yourself a little bit of leeway. You don't want to be right on the basement there to start with. So, if it says that you need 800 calories to live, well, then 1,200, 1,100 calories would be a good place to start every day for a week and see what your weight does. If you're losing more than 2 pounds a week, you probably need to add calories back in. You're probably losing too much. And we don't want the calories to come in the form of muscle, where your body is relinquishing muscle. We want it to relinquish the body fat. Okay? So utilizing your calculator, you're going to say, I need X amount of calories per day, and I am going to get educated. I'm going to educate myself. How many calories are in 100 grams of apple? How many calories are in so many grams of spinach, or sweet potato, or squash, or flounder, chicken breast, ground turkey? Okay? You can cook up a bunch, except the potato. Only cook what you need, okay? But as far as your protein goes, you could cook a whole week's worth, or 3 or 4 days, not a week, but 3 or 4 days worth of your protein all at once. And then every day, take it out, weigh it, make sure that you got it. Okay, and that you're not consuming more than that. I was just talking to a client this morning who said, he was doing really well, and he had the chicken that looked so good, and the problem was he had both pieces of chicken that came with the meal, when he probably should have stopped at one piece of chicken that came with the meal. Chicken breast. Okay? So we can't make changes if we don't know where we are now. For example, I'm here in Central Florida. So if someone said to me, hey, how do you get to Disney World? I can't answer that because I don't know where you are right now. If you're standing in front of me and you say, how do you get to Disney World? Well, obviously I could point to that. But if you called me on the phone and said, how do you get to Disney World? I have to know where you are right now to give you that first direction, left or right. And it's the same way with your nutrition. If we don't know where you are now, it's very, very difficult to say what direction you need to travel in. So, start writing everything down. Start weighing your food now, but don't get caught up in how much you're supposed to have. Put down how much you would have normally. And I bet you're going to get a eye-opening surprise as to exactly how many calories you are consuming on a daily basis that is probably hundreds, if not more, calories than you ever expected you were consuming, especially if you're overweight. Okay? 99% of overweight people will underestimate their calories by a bunch. And they may think that they're exaggerating things. They'll say, well, I'm probably eating about 2,000 calories a day. And you find out they're consuming 4,000 calories a day, which for someone 400 pounds makes about sense for what it would take to maintain that kind of weight. As a rule of thumb, you could take your body weight. We'll use me as an example. I weigh 225 pounds. So it takes approximately 2,250 calories to maintain my weight. Okay, so times 10, body weight times 10 is going to give you your maintenance calories. Not exactly, no, that's not perfect, but it puts me in the ballpark. So if I am failing to lose weight, I must be consuming 2,200 calories a day, whether I'm taking in 32 and burning off 1,000 and netting 22, and my weight doesn't budge. Okay? Or I've been underestimating this whole time because I've only been guessing at how much I've been consuming. My package here says there's 4 servings in that whatever it is. So I'm going to kind of divide that into 4. Are they perfectly even? Probably not. Probably not. But your food scale will make sure they're even, or it'll make sure that you match that number that's on your nutrition label. Nutrition labels are supposed to be accurate. We find in some foods that they simply are not. We'll get into that in another video. But for the most part, if you pick up a publication that has taken the time to write down calorie numbers for you, or you look it up online for some sort of calorie estimator for foods, those are probably pretty accurate. Okay? And if at the end of the week you have not lost that pound or up to 2 pounds that week that you were looking to lose, you know you need to consume even less. So if you had 8 ounces of potato, now you might get, or ounces, you might have, 40, 50 grams of potato. You might, zip that down to 30 to 35 grams of potato. And I'm not telling you to eat 35 grams of potato. I'm using that as an example. Okay, just the math part of it. Okay, everybody is different. I'm not ever going to come on here and tell you need to eat this, and this in these quantities, and you're going to look like Mr. or Miss America. Okay? That isn't going to happen. Everybody's different. All right? So remember, apples to apples, 2 medium-sized apples could weigh completely different amounts. Make sure you cut up your fruit, the part that you're going to consume, and weigh that. Weigh your potato before you cook it, and for simplicity's sake, weigh your protein after. Cook your protein sources and then weigh that when they're done, for simplicity. Okay? So that's going to do it. And by the way, go look at what 19 grams of nuts looks like. It is not nearly enough to satiate you, to make you full for that snack, despite getting all those beneficial fats that should be doing that. You would have to consume many, many more calories than you thought. All right, so that's just one example. So there you go. And again, please share this information with someone that you know that can use it. Knowledge not shared is lost, as you heard me say last week. All right, and this week we're going to give a shout out to my wife, Lori Ann Ciccarelli. All right, Lori Ann is very, very much into fitness. She gets a lot of people involved that have trouble walking, getting out and walking. She'll go walk with them. She participates in dance classes, in aerobics classes, in step classes. She's really done a great job of keeping her weight under control, and she's literally half the weight, not quite half, but, a considerable amount less than even when I met her. So she's doing a great job. She's a great influencer out there on Instagram, getting people motivated. And if you know her, you'll know what I'm talking about. So that's our shout out for this week. And I might be a little biased on that one. All right, everybody. So until next time, keep it up. Stay consistent. Learn all that you can. And this week, pick up that calorie book. See how many calories are in the food that you're eating. Write it all down. You'd be surprised. Till next time, I'm Ron from Ron's Personal Fitness. Take care, everybody.